We're starting a new siman today, Shin Pei Zayin. Let's do the Hakdoma. In footnote number 1, he's got a Hakdoma just to give a bit of background to this siman. So let's take a look. Nisbaya, this is footnote number 1. Nisbaya la'el, sha'alidei Eruv Chatzeros mutar l'taltal kelim sheshavsu bebeis lechotzer. We've said in the beginning of this Shinayim base that the effect of an Eruv Chatzeros enables you to carry kelim that were in the house into the chotzer. For kelim ivu yachad kama chatzeros sheyesh pesach benem, and so too, if there's many chatzeros and there's sort of openings between them. Ha'eruv matar l'taltal kelim sheshavsu bebayis mechotzer lechotzer. Fine. V'oid nisba'eh sh'alidei shituf mevuos mutar l'taltal kelim sheshavsu bebayis mechotzer lechotzer derech mavui. So if you've got, for example, lots of Chatzeros, and you've got, or two or more Chatzeros, and then you've got a Mavui, and then you've got another structure of other Chatzeros, that will enable you to carry the Shitufei Mevuos, will enable you to carry from one across the Mavui, from one Chatzer to another. Now, the B'siman Zeh, I'm jumping to the end of the line, B'siman Zeh, Don HaShulchan Orach, what are the extent of carrying in a Shitufei Mevuos? That's really what we're going to be focusing on this siman. And in the Maisa there are three machlokas in the Rishonim, and all of them will be found in our siman, in the Shulchan Aruch. So says the footnote, Aleph, the first opinion is, L'der Rishona, which is the Rambam, Dafka im nishtatfu bepas matir hashituf letaltal kelim sheshavsu bebatim gam lechatzeros ve'ein tzorech erev chatzeros. If you've got a Shitufei Mevuos, which is done by bread, you've got to use pas. That enables you to carry kelim from the bias through into the chotzer, and you don't need an erev chatzeros. You don't need individual erev chatzeros for each chotzer that we're talking about. But if you do a shituf with other foods, then each chotzer needs to make their own eruv. Okay, that's the first opinion. Now let's jump to base. Hadea Shnia, which is Rashi, Pirish HaBeis Yosef, is understood by the Beis Yosef, V'chein Pirish HaRitva, Sheshituf levad ein matzah l'taltal kelim sheshavsu bebatim l'chotzer. Just doing shituf alone is not going to allow you to carry kelim that were in the house into the chotzer. V'rak im irva kol chotzer benifrad im bateha v'achkach nishtatfu. So Rashi learns that each chotzer has got to make its own erev chatzeros, and then when you've got lots of different chatzeros, you do a Shitufei Mevuos, and that allows you to carry between the mavui, through the mavui. Fine, that's the second opinion. And then the third opinion, which is going to be the Ramah brings, which is I think the Rosh and the Tur, shegam im nishtatfu beyayin poited. Not only if it was bread, but even if you did it with wine, then the shituf is going to be effective. Okay. So,
the Yosef doesn't hold like Rashi.
Well,
yeah. Usually it's Yosef in the Rambam.
Yeah, true. But he's just quoting Beis Yosef as he's explaining Rashi. So the way Rashi is understood by the Beis Yosef. Okay, so now let's go back to the Mechaber. Hamishtatfin b'mavui. So those people who make a Shitufei Mevuos, srichin la'arev b'chatzeros, you need to make an eruv in the chotzer first, kadei shelo yishkechu hatinokos teres eruv. Otherwise, kids in the eruv, they won't realize what's going on elsewhere. They won't know what's going on in the bigger picture, and therefore we're worried that the children will forget what is the whole concept of Eruv, and therefore Chazal want people to make an Eruv in each individual chotzer. I remember growing up as a kid, we always made an Eruv Chatzeros with our next door, and my grandma, my Bubba lived next door, and my great uncle lived in the flat upstairs next door, and we made Eruv Chatzeros, so it was familiar to us. But if you're going to sort of bypass that by doing one big Shitufei Mevuos, I'll miss all of that, and therefore Chazal want us to make an erev chatzeros.
So the erev in general.
Yeah.
Up in a place where.
Yeah.
Like in Israel, whatever.
Yeah, the whole concept of Hotzah you forget about. Yeah. Okay. So lefichim nishtatfu b'mavui b'pas, and therefore, if you make a Shitufei Mevuos with bread, soimichin olav ve'ein srichin la'arev b'chatzeros. But if you make a Shitufei Mevuos with pas, with bread, then you can rely on that. You don't need to make an erev chatzeros. Shari hatinokas makirim b'pas, because they'll see, there's bread here. We used a box of matzahs. This reminds me of the erev chatzeros. That will be sufficient. Let's just do the Mishnah Berurah till there. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Aleph Hamishtatvim b'Mavi v'Lo Mar b'Pas Ela b'Sham Minei Ochlan Mashkin. If you didn't use bread, then Srichin la'Arav b'Chatzeros Hainu HaChatzeros Imabatzim. Each Chatzer has got to make its own Eruv. Kadei Sif Kotan Gimel Rotzolema Demidin Lo Yit Srichin la'Arav b'Chatzeros HaPsuchos l'Mavi Klal. Really, you didn't need to. Sham Rovim L'Mushutofin Kva Memela De Shituf Mevuos, because if you make a Shituf Mevuos, that will cover it. Ela Kadei, that the kids won't forget. Shahari Ein v'Yom Rav V'Seinu Lo Eruv. They'll say, well, I never saw this at home. We didn't make this Eruv. Ve'ein strichin arav b'chatzeros, and they don't need to make the individual ones. Kol achas la'atzma. When you've got pas, shari tenoikis makir mebas. So if you're using bread, then that shit of mevuos will be sufficient reminder that there is a concept of eruv. Mitoich sha'pas hu chay ha'adam. Now, why is that? Because bread is the life stay of a person. It's the main sort of food. Lefichach makir bo mishtatvim bo, and therefore we use that. U'may rishenicha pas b'bayis shebechotze. So we're talking about where the pas was put in that chotzer, so the kids see it. For a pas shleima v'lo prusa, it's a whole loaf and not pieces. For ilav hochi lo mani, otherwise it's not going to help. Okay, now that's the first opinion. For yesh omrim, back to the mechaber, third line. For yesh omrim she'em lo erev kol chotzer la'atzma ein soimchen la'shituf. That if each chotzer did not make their own eruv, you do not rely on the shituf. Avol kasher kol chotzer erev la'atzma. But if each chotzer made their own Erev Chatzeros, and then you do a Shituf Mevuos, and they didn't do it through the entrances. You're allowed to use the Chatzeros through in the Mavi, through the Pesachim that connect them. Because in that situation you're soimech on the Shituf instead of the Eruv. And if they make an Eruv through with the Pesachim which can connect them, you're allowed to use the Chatzeros in the Mavi. Okay, let's do the Mishnah Berurah till there. V'siv Kotan Zayin, Eim Soimchim ala Shituf, Shituf HaMavui Ein Moel El Lechaber Kol HaChatzeros Im HaMavui Yachad. The effect, the function of the Shituf Mevuos is to connect all the Chatzeros with the Mavi, which is in between them. Avolo lachaber habatim im Chatzeros, but not to join the batim with the Chatzeros. Shei muta al yidei zeh laheitzim in habayis lechotzer, but not to carry from the bayis into the chotzer, only to connect all the Chatzeros together. Ches mutarim nishtamish b'Chatzeros shebemavui hainu laheitzim echotzer lechotzer kelim sheshavsu b'bayis. V'atam to kashem shah shituf mechaber lechol Chatzeros she'mutal etaltal mehen lemavui. Just like the shituf is enabling you to carry from the chotzer lemavui, kein mechabron she'mutal etaltal mizelazeh, and therefore it's enabling you to carry also to carry from the chotzer to the chotzer kelim which were previously in the house. Okay, now that's the second opinion. Then the third opinion, which is what the Ramah brings, is the Rosh. V'yesh omrim, says the Ramah, to soimchin hashituf b'makom eruv afilu lo nishtatfu ela b'yayin, even if you only use wine. V'chein soimchin ha'eruv b'makom shituf, and you can be soimich on an eruv where a shituf was made. Ule'el simen shin samach vav si'ivav b'hago kosavti to onu noagim lechatchila shelo lases rak shituf echad b'kemach, that we make one shituf using flour, we bake a bread. V'nira di hatam, and I think the reason is, says the Ramah, ki eruv shelonu shekol echad mimnei chotzer noisen shituf havi ke eruv v'shituf b'yachad, because each chotzer is contributing to this this and giving some kemach and is making one combined loaf. V'shituf b'yachad v'lechatchila ein lasos yosa, and really don't need to make more than that. V'ha shehetzrichu shituf v'eruv. And when did we say that you need to make separate Erev Chatzeros and a separate Shituf Mevuos? Hainu bizman Gemara. That was in the times of the Gemara, says the Ramah, Shebnei Chotzer le'nosnu l'Shituf, where each individual Chotzer did not contribute to the Shituf. Rak ha'Chotzer Erevu b'yachad ve'echad b'nei ha'Chotzer nosnu l'Shituf. They made their Chotzer, they made their Erev Chatzeros, and then one person went and did the Shituf Mevuos. But if everyone contributes to it, then you can make one big Shituf. And if you do more than that, then it's because it was just not necessary. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Tes, afilu b'yayin, the afal gav the Erev Chatzeros lemahani ba'alma kim b'pas. Even though normally we say the Erev Chatzeros requires pas, hachem migu de mahani l'inyan shituf, the mahani afilu b'sha ochlin or mashkin. Since with a shituf you could use other foods, as we've discussed, mahani nami l'inyan Erev Chatzeros, it will also help you for the Erev Chatzeros. V'chi soimchen ha'erev sifkotin yud, kvar nizka zeh b'divrei ha'mechava mikodim ve'agav grora chozu v'kosfa. It's repeating what it said earlier. V'yud aleph, nearly our time. V'afal gav de b'yesh lema de tama minaku mishum de b'kemach oifin pasu v'pasle de halikaimel on the shituf moya b'moka im erev. Everyone's giving the some kemach and everyone bake one big bread and we're relying on that b'moka erev. Yesh lema de rotza liyashiv ha'minuk afle yesh omrim shem b'divrei ha'chava. He's trying to explain the minhag of how we could do it, how we could be somech according to the Yesh Omrim that the Mechaba brought, the Heicha Shel Erev Kol Chotzer La'atzma, i.e. that each Chotzer did not make its own Erev Chatzeros. Nevertheless, L'Kula Alma Ein Soimchen Ala Shituf Mokum Erev Ve'ana Nogin De Ein Oisin Rak Shituf Levad. And is explaining how it works if they didn't make their own Erev Chatzeros, how a Shituf would actually still work. And that is Yud Beis Haydu Bizman HaGemara Shebnei Chotzer. Now, Higsha Levush. Two questions. Now, Aleph. Mi yoima shebizman haGemara lo nosnu al kol bnei achotzer l'shituf rak echod me'achotzer. Says the Levush. Who says that each individual didn't contribute to the shituf as well? Who says they just did the Erev Chatzeros and one person went along and did the shituf? Number one. Va'oid lu yesh echod me'achotzer nosan l'shituf. Let's say it's true. Let's say that's exactly what did happen. Then Mabekach, says the Levush, what's the problem? It's just Zachin Adam Shlei Befonov. He's mezakeh all his fellow Bnei Chotzer, and he's sort of, it's as if they've contributed fully. So therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, the Ikar is, quoting the Levush, we are soimech on the first shitta that the Mechaba brought, that even if each Chotzer did not do its own Erev Chatzeros, im nishtatfu b'pas, if you did a shituf mevuos with pas, soimchin olav, we are soimech on that, ve'ein tzrichin la'arev b'chatzeros klal. And you don't really need to do independent, individual Erev Chatzeros. V'yoseh tov lem b'ferish b'shas hanochas ha'erev, shemanichu gam kein l'shituf, u'b'zeh yotzeh l'kula alma, k'mei shekotzav ha'ridva b'hedja. And just you need to clarify that at the time of making it, that you're doing it for that purpose. In footnote 13, he brings the Chaznish, who notes that the nusach is a little bit wrong, because it's not like Gam L'Shituf, it's Gam L'Eruv. That's the point. Okay, but that's footnote 13. So that's what we do. That if I think that if you've got various Chatzeros, you just do one Shituf Mevuos, you do it with pas, and that will that will be effective for all the Chatzeros as well.
Only enough that you can use. That he says you can use yain.
Yes.
So
yeah. That's the only. That's.
Also could have used,
yeah, Einachanami. But the pas has the addition that you know shakhu tinokas teres ticks that box as well. The next siman is a very short one. Let's just do that as well, and then we'll finish. Shin Peiches. Din im loy erev chatzeres yachad v'gam lo nishtatu b'mavui. So says the Mechaba, im loy erevu chatzeres yachad. If you didn't make an erev chatzeres v'gam lo nishtatu b'mavui, then it sounds like pretty bad, right? You didn't make an Erev Chatzeros, you didn't do the Shituf Mevuos, so you're stuck. So you're not fully stuck, because mutar l'taltel b'kol ha'mavui. You're allowed still to carry in the mavui. What can you carry? Kelim sheshovsu b'soichai. So if you imagine you've got various Chatzeros, and you've got batim inside the Chatzeros, and then you've got this mavui, this alleyway between various Chatzeros, but you've got items in the mavui itself. So even though you didn't make Erev Chatzeros, and even though you didn't do Shituf Mevuos, mutar l'talta b'chol ha'mavui kelim sheshovsu b'soicha, you can still carry those kelim that were found in the mavui itself. Bein Erev Chatzeros im abatim, bein in lo Erev, whether or not you made an Erev Chatzeros or not. Rav Rabbeinu Moshe Bar Maimon, according to the Rambam, Davka b'sheloi Erev Chatzeros im abatim. That's specifically where you did not make an Erev Chatzeros. Avalim Erev Chatzeros im abatim. But if you did make an Erev Chatzeros, but you didn't do the Shituf Mevuos, then ein metaltelin b'mavi elab arba amas. We'll see why in a second. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sifkot Aleph. Im lo Erev Rotzeloima. Af im lo Erev v'chula. Even if you didn't make the Erev Chatzeros, Dim Eruv, because if you did, Harihu Gamkein Kein Shituf Mavi, like we said just now in the previous simon. Base Kelim Sheshavsu B'Soichai, V'Huadin the Mutal Lahitzi Mechotzel Mavi Kelim Sheshavsu B'Soichai. You can also carry things that were Shoves, i.e. when Shabbos came in, that they started life on Shabbos in the Chotzer. V'chein min Mavi l'Chotzer. So too the other way around, from the Mavi to Chotzer. Chudel Al B'Simen Shnayim Beis Yifalef. The Tignu Chachom Shitufei Mevuos Lahatzil Ha'itzi L'Mavi Kelim Sheshavsu B'Bayis. The whole objective was to carry things from the bias out into the mavui. But regarding things that were in the chotzer or in the mavui, they were never masakin it for that. And it's considered one rishus you can carry from the chotzer to the mavui and vice versa. Gam came Musa Talta B'chol Mavi Afim Lo Yishtatfu B'nei Chatzeros Im Mavi. Upashat T'chol Zemari Shoya Mavi Atzim Mesukim B'lechi V'Kereb Kadin. In other words, that just like with Erev Chatzeros, if you didn't make an Erev Chatzeros to carry from the bias to the Chotzer, you can carry in the Chotzer itself things were in the Chotzer. Well, so too with the Mavi, as long as you've got this Lechi and Keira at the front of the Mavi. Bein Erev Chatzeros, to Matsuyin Kliya Bias B'Chotzer V'Shai. Now, so why does the Rambam says, the Machaba says, Davka shelo Erev Chatzeros abatim. Davka when you didn't make an Erev Chatzeros in the house. Why? Says the Matsuyin Kliya Bayis B'Chotzer, because in the situation where if you did make an Erev Chatzeros with the house, then it's more of a concern, ironically, because you're going to find Kalim from the house in the Chotzer, and therefore you might come and take them into the Mavui. That's Afilu Hachishari. Well, Rambam. Oh, sorry, that was going on the last shita. Well, Rambam. The Rambam says no. If you made an erev chatzeros and therefore you're going to find kalim from the bias in the chotzer, we're going to be concerned ein metaltlin b'mavi, because you might come, and if you didn't do the shit of mevuos, you might come and take the kalim that were in the house and bring them into the mavi. That's the Rambam's concern. What's the lahalocha? Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Daled lahalocha nakdinin kedei rishena va'afilu l'Rambam. So therefore we paskin that's not like we're not worried about the Rambam's thing, and if you didn't therefore make an erev chatzeros, you didn't make a shit of mevuos, you can carry and take things that were in the chotzer, and you can in fact carry and take things in the mavi as well. And even if you made an erev chatzeros, and therefore there might be things from the house in the chotzer, we're not worried about that. If you didn't make a shit of mevuos, you shouldn't take those things, but you can take things that were in the chotzer at the beginning of Shabbos and in the mavi in the beginning of Shabbos. And the Rambam, even according to the Rambam, that's when it's a problem. Even the Rambam would agree, everything would be mutter. Okay.